Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my best and worst of 2025 video. I have not filmed in a minute. Holidays, flu, chaos of parenting, etc. So, I think I do have one video that I have that I need to edit still, and that'll come out eventually, but I did want to start with my wrap up of 2025. I don't want to do this whole series of 2025 videos. I think I kind of just want to talk about my best reads, my top reads of the year, and then my worst reads of the year, with the caveat that my worst reads of the year are really not that bad. One of them is probably not great, but that is to say that just because it was on my not best reads of the year doesn't mean that it wouldn't work for you. And so I still want to talk about these books anyway because they clearly evoked a strong emotional response. So the first book I want to talk about on this list is The Otherwhere Post by Emily J. Taylor. I had been fortunate enough to be sent an ARC of this, I believe early last year, and then they sent me a finished copy as well. And this, I talked about it in my wrap up for that month, which for the record, I have not done a monthly wrap up in a hot minute. I don't know that I'm going to. Let's leave 2025 in 2025. You know what I mean? That's besides the point. But I read The Otherwhere Post in 2025, and I know that it was getting rave reviews from everybody at the time, and I am definitely one of the people giving it rave reviews. I loved this book so much. So in this book, you follow Maeve, and Maeve is kind of on the run a little bit. Her father was accused of being the reason why, okay, let's back up. There's I think 3 different planes of existence essentially, and through the use of scriptomancy, people have had the ability to travel between these planes until Maeve's father was accused of being the reason why these parasitic-ish vine things kind of closed all of the portals and took over and were killing a lot of people. It was bad. And Maeve's father was the one who was accused of being the reason why this happened. And so she's not really been on the run, but she has been kind of shunned for this until she finds a missive saying that her father was innocent, and she decides that she needs to figure out what actually happened and prove her father's innocence and clear their name. He's dead, so this is just about her pretty much, and her father's good name, etc. So she sneaks into this academy that is an academy for scriptomancers, and goes into there under an assumed name, and she's trying to prove her father's innocence essentially. And there's a cute little romance. The stakes are high, the emotions are high, the entire story was just so good, and I loved this book so much. After that, I want to talk about Silver and Blood by Jessie Mahalik. I don't have a physical copy of this yet. It just came out, I think, last week. I read this back in October. I adored this book. I was in the middle of a reading slump. It cured it for me. I absolutely loved it from start to finish, and it was one of my best romantasy reads of last year, I believe. Like I said, my finished copy is coming soon. I can't wait until it gets here, but I've been raving to people about this book for the last 3 months, and so I'm going to rave about it to you guys as well. Silver and Blood is about Rayla, Riela, that's how you spell her name, and she is kind of this shunned, wow, that's a theme. Anyway, she's this shunned magical practitioner that lives in this village, but she grew up, I think her parents died at an early age, and she was just kind of fending for herself from a young age. And because she has the ability to use magic, but she doesn't have any family, the village just kind of let her hang around, but didn't really do anything to help her in any appreciable way. Until they needed her, of course. So she managed to save the village from a flood, and I don't know why, but this caused them to, instead of being grateful, continue to use her. So there's this magical forest that these beasts are roaming, and if you go into the forest, chances are you're gonna die. Well, one of the people of the village went into the forest, they couldn't find him, so they send Riela into the forest to save the village yet again, and she goes there and is saved by this handsome, very handsome man named Garrick. And essentially this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. He takes her back to his castle first to I think help her get better, and then she ends up being forced to stay there because I think once you enter the forest you can't leave. The details are hazy. Obviously they fall in love, and you learn a whole bunch of secrets about Garrick's past and Riela's past as well. Rayla, I really don't know how I'm going to settle on pronouncing her name. We'll figure that out later. There's a lot of twists and turns that you don't anticipate, and there is a fuzzy wolf who is precious and hilarious for reasons you will find out later, and I loved everything about this book, and I can't wait to reread it as soon as my physical copy gets here. The next one I want to talk about is The Things We Water by Mariana Zapata. I rave about Mariana Zapata on my channel literally all the time. She's one of my favorite authors, and she is a queen of the slow burn romance. I have read every book she has ever written. There's some highs and lows, you know, like with every author's backlist. This just came out last May, and it's high. It's high on the list for me, in my top 3 of all of her books, for the record. And I ended up ordering the special edition of it because it is absolutely beautiful. It's got these sprayed edges and this shiny cover. I think, yeah. And then I got it signed as well. This is actually the only signed Mariana book that I have. So this is about a woman named Nina, and Nina, she's kind of a lone wolf. She's kind of a nomad. I believe she like lives in a camper and travels from RV to RV site. But one day she finds this puppy, and this puppy is clearly supernatural. For the record, Nina is also supernatural, but in this world, the supernatural is hidden from the normal humans, and so she's some kind of supernatural being. She finds a supernatural puppy, and she just wants to take care of this puppy and like live her life. She's adopted him. He's adorable. His name is Duncan. But one day his powers become a little bit too hard to hide from the normal people, the normal population. So she approaches one of her werewolf friends and asks them if she could go to his cousin's ranch. There's this ranch. I don't necessarily know where it is, but it's in the mountainous area in the middle to western United States. And it's a ranch that's like a sanctuary for magical beings, and she just wants to get the chance to raise Duncan there and keep him safe. Obviously, there's a romance, and she ends up falling in love with the handsome werewolf person in charge at this ranch. His name is Henry. He's definitely a grump, and she is definitely more of a sunshine, which is awesome. There is the animal companion, Duncan. He's precious. He does speak telepathically. There's all sorts of a found family aspect to this, and it's slow burn, and it was just so good. If you haven't read Mariana Zapata yet, this is your sign to try. Next up, I wanted to talk to you about Liz Tomford's new release from this year. This is the 5th and final book, sort of, in the Windy City series by her. This is Rio's story. This came out back in May, and I am not usually a second chance romance kind of person, but this one did it right. So you follow Rio, who is the golden retriever puppy of the hockey team we've been following for 5 books, and you also follow Hallie, who is his love interest from when they were kids. They met when they were like, I don't know, 13 or something like that. She's a couple years younger than him, I think. He was best friends with her older brother. They were neighbors, but he was always a little bit in love with her until they actually started dating. And then things happened later on in their teenage, early adult years that caused them to part ways, unfortunately, and it ended pretty badly. Rio's always been like looking for love in all of the books that we've seen him in, and you never really know like what happened and why like what's gone on in his past previously. You find out all of that in this book, and his and Hallie's story is so heart-wrenching and so well done. I fell in love with every single aspect of both of their characters, and the end of it just tugged at your heartstrings so hard, and it was amazing. I loved every second of this book. Last but not least is a relatively new release. This is from December, and this is Love What's Left by Evangeline Williams. When I tell you that this book almost had me sobbing on a train at 6 a.m., I am not exaggerating. This story continues on with the Trust and Tequila series, which is, it follows a whole bunch of different family members or friends of the family, of the McCrae family. Now, when this book opens, trigger warning, just so you're aware, Sydney has been kidnapped, and in order to kind of save her sanity, Sydney has been kidnapped, and you find out that it's because of the things that her husband, Gabriel's family, have been, and Gabriel himself, have been doing as kind of like white hat vigilantes. The entire family is like white hat vigilantes, and she's been kidnapped and tortured to try and find out more information about Gabriel. And in order to save herself and save him and protect her sanity, she actually kind of, in the trauma, gives herself amnesia, essentially. And so she can only remember a couple of things, and she mentally reverts back to, like, I believe when she was a teenager. She's not in this situation for very long because Gabriel manages to find her and rescue her, but she has no idea who he is, and she has no idea how she got there anymore. All she can remember is like a couple of key sentences that she kept repeating to herself in the middle of the trauma, and eventually had forced herself to lose all of her memories. back to like a certain point. And so Gabriel rescues her and is determined to nurse her back to health. He is absolutely and completely in love with her, and he just wants her to remember how she used to feel the same. You get to navigate their new relationship and their old relationship with them kind of simultaneously as they revisit some memories and some flashbacks as she starts to get her recollection back. And you also see his perspective as a recovering alcoholic. He's sober. He's been sober for like 7 years, I think, at this point. And you kind of see the trauma that each of them has from their previous relationship and how they heal each other and stay next to each other and work with each other throughout this new phase of their relationship. And like I said, I'm not usually a second chance romance kind of person. That's not necessarily what this is. I'm usually also not an amnesia kind of person because like I usually don't like the power imbalance that I feel there is in most stories that do the amnesia thing. This is not like that. This is Gabriel trying to give Sydney the things that she needs to heal without pressuring her in any way, without pushing her in any way. He is just quietly loving her and helping her heal, and it is beautiful. It's so good. If you have not picked up any of the Trust and Tequila series by Evangeline Williams, this is definitely one to try. And this is the later in the series, of course, but this one is my favorite by far. I know that I said that I was going to do worst in this video as well. I think I'm going to split that off into a different video and have a second one talking about my least favorites of the year. So we're going to end this here. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Down in the description box, you're going to see links to my Goodreads, my X, my Instagram, my Storygraph, etc., etc., etc. You're also going to see a rep code for Unplugged book box, and my Unplugged books now have an entire shelf of honor right up here. You can see every book that I've received, every special edition from Unplugged book box. They are all stunning. They are all the most beautiful books that I own, bar none. And if you have the chance to go check them out, definitely go and do that. But that's it for this one today, guys, so I will talk to you in my next one. Bye!